Example 12 is one of the big reasons we want to use Excel with our genealogy. Oftentimes we have lots of data. In my instance, it was the birth, marriage, and burial records from my Newfoundland research. Once our worksheets are complete, whether we've done that through downloading, exporting, or manually entering the data, then the real fun begins. Two features to keep in mind, and we've seen them a little bit already, are in the editing function, and that's over here on the Home tab in Editing. It's sort and filter, and you can sort and filter A to Z, Z to A, but also a custom sort. You can also filter. And then the second feature is find and select. You can find and replace, you can go to, or you can go to special. There's all kinds of ways that you can play with these two features that are found in editing. Now, in a custom sort, you want to check the box, My data has headers. I've mentioned this before, but it always bears repeating, because you want to keep all of your rows of information grouped correctly. You can sort by levels, and we saw that already, that you can add or subtract levels. And I use custom sorts for sorting dates, and I showed you that with the year, then the month, and the day. Or locations. That could be the state, the country, the city, or the town. Perhaps you want to sort by parents' names and a date. And I did this a lot with my baptism records, because if I sorted by the parents first and then a year, I could have all of the children who were baptized in date order for a particular couple. It makes it easy to reconstruct families and make sure that you've included all the children. Now, when we go to find and replace, that's a very useful feature to use if you want to search for a specific word, or you can find that word and perhaps replace it. Maybe you typed in USA and now you always want it to appear as the United States in your worksheet. Perhaps you used an abbreviation for a state while you were doing the data entry, and now you want to use the complete word. You can do this on a find next basis so that you can check each instance that you're replacing, or if you're feeling dangerous and courageous, you can replace all. I rarely use that because I want to make sure that each change is what I want for my replacements. Now, what I'm showing you in example 12 is a worksheet with all of the conferences and seminars that I attended within a particular time period. And I might have picked up a piece of software, or I might have attended the seminar and also gotten a handout, and I wanted to make sure that when I attended these seminars or conferences that I kept track of the information that I gathered. So if there was a talk, for instance, with Thomas Jones, 5 proven techniques for finding your ancestors' European origins, I made a note of where I attended that, when I attended it, and what category I'd put it in. In that instance, I put it in international, all countries. It was a course on European research at a conference, and I filed that information in a particular location. I've done this for the webinars I've attended as well, and that's a separate sheet. I started doing this in 2001, and I have different sheets. I've changed the format a little bit. Now I separate it out by year. I've changed the format a little bit, but this is just to give you an example of the type of thing you could do. I have category headings. I manually input the information. We can go ahead and scroll over. You could see that I've taken it out for this instance, but I put a grade down for the presenter as well as for the materials. And I also make some notes, because I find that if I like a presenter, or if I think that way that presenter does, I want to make sure that I attend other presentations the person gives. If I get materials and they're great and there's something that I want to work with again, that's a note that I want to make as well. Sometimes you don't get materials, or sometimes the materials you get aren't that helpful. And I find that if I put some information down, whether it's in grades or notes, it just kind of reminds me of the experience I had with that presenter. The filing locations are useful for me because I either file by my surname research, or I have it in notebooks, and that might be based on a country research. Whatever system you're working is the system that you want to stay with, but go ahead and think through how you're going to work with various worksheets and workbooks. In this instance, the reason we're using this sheet in example 12 is to learn how to sort and filter as well as how to find. So the first thing that we can do, and we've done this before, but we click on sort and filter, and we could filter here. Perhaps I'm interested in finding out, filtering everything, and I'm only interested in finding out information I have on Newfoundland. So I can take a look at this information. I can see when I acquired it and also see that I'm missing a few dates here. I know where to find the handout or the syllabus as well as where I filed the information. And I could print this sheet out if all I was interested in was finding out the titles and the information that I had on my Newfoundland research. And I can simply go back up here and take the filter off. So what if I wanted to custom sort this information? Right now, all the information has just been entered. Always keep in mind my data has headers. Maybe I want to sort by the organization, and maybe that's all I want to sort by. I can go ahead and do that. And then it'll sort and put everything that I got from Family Search in one place all together. It will have the Family History Library courses that I took, and then we move on to things like the Newfoundland Seminar or my Oregon Genealogy Fest information. Then I could grab and print any of that information that I wanted to. But that's just one way of doing a custom sort. I could have also custom sort by the date if that was something that was going to be necessary. Now I'm going to go ahead and undo that custom sort because I want you to be able to go ahead and sort the information the way you want to in order to play with this sheet. Now while we're here and we've removed the custom sort as well as the filter, the next thing I want to show you is find and replace. So if we wanted to find instead, and Excel is always going to remember the last thing you did, so a couple examples back we had Bushnell. Now I'm going to take a look for Newfoundland. And I could ask it to find all, and then it gives me, and we'll move this up a little bit, it gives me every example that Newfoundland shows up. And on this one, because we have this little triangle here, we can go ahead and make this larger. On some of them the boxes won't increase, but this information, and it links me to each of these places, and I could go there if I wanted to, and I'll see what it's done. And it just moves around through them, and it has them all in order, and I can see where these cells are, A13, D14. Now that is how you would go ahead and say find all. If I wanted to find the next one, I would go ahead and close out of here, and I would say find again, and I want to find the next, and it's going to take me through looking, and it's going to show with a thicker box every time Newfoundland shows up. Now if I wanted to change something, perhaps I have Utah as UT, and I want to replace that and spell out the entire word. Now in this instance, I think it would be okay because it would find UT in each of these instances and replace it with Utah. However, if it wasn't in all caps and that short, UT might show up in any of these words, and so I'd need to be careful about hitting replace all because it would go ahead and insert Utah in place of UT, and that could be problematic. What I tend to do is find any instance of it and replace it right there. And what I'm going to do here is make that a little larger so you can see each instance that it's doing it. And it's making those changes. And you'll also notice that UT shows up somewhere in here, and I don't want to replace UT there. So I would just move to the next one and not replace it. I'm the kind of person who wants to make sure what I'm doing before I make any changes to my Excel workbooks. But one other thing we could take a look at here if we wanted to replace is take a look at our options. And maybe we say, I only want you to check in this sheet, and I want you to search by columns, and I want you to match the case. So if it matches the case UT, there was no all caps UT right there. I could find the next one and notice that what it's doing is making that change. And if I'm comfortable with that format there, I could go ahead and replace all because it would be looking for capital U, capital T. So that's one of the ways you can play with find and replace. Now I'm going to go through and undo what I've done because I want you to be able to play with it. So I'm going to go through here and take off all of these replaces, and you'll notice that it also took off the extension of that column and it put it all back as UT. So you can play with anything you want here. So you're going to find that it's very helpful to take advantage of sort and filter, whether that's a sort from A to Z or Z to A, a custom sort. Certainly filter is very useful, and also find and replace are incredibly useful to genealogists once we've gone ahead and entered all of that information or manipulated that information through a download or an export, and we want to play around and find things in our very large worksheets and workbooks. So there you have it, example 12, sort and filter, custom sort, find and replace.